National Novel Writing Month, as I said in my last video, is where you write 50,000 words in the course of 30 days. While challenging, it is very fun, and I would encourage all of you to participate at least once in your life. This will be my 5th year doing it, and I'm very excited about my idea for this year. Now, I have a vague idea of what I'll be doing this year. Basically, it'll be about a vampire named Kiana, who is 22 years old, and basically she lives in a world where they have these things called obsessions, and no one knows, no one can tell who their obsession will be, and she happens to have an obsession that is very abnormal and very weird from other obsessions. I don't know much about this story yet, but that's okay because that's the fun of NaNoWriMo. You start out with an idea that you really don't know anything about and you just roll with it and see what comes out. I got the idea for this book when I was a sophomore in high school, actually. My biology teacher gave us an assignment. It was an extra credit thing, so I chose to do it. She said we could write a story in which the characters live in a world that is basically like a cell, and so I made a story called Vampire's Obsession and I got 100% on it. It's pretty cool. But basically it's about Kiana and her obsession and showing her obsession about this vampire's lair is what it's called, place that they all live, the vampires. I read it back and it's kind of dumb, but you know, it was a good story, so I'm deciding to continue on with it and see if I can make a full-length book out of it. For those of you that are participating but may not have ideas yet, that's okay. You can always swing it and then hopefully you'll get an idea maybe halfway through or when you first start. That's the beauty of NaNoWriMo because you're focusing on word count and not content matter. As I said in my last video, you can change your ideas halfway through. You can just write on the same document and keep the word count. It's kind of fun to just bounce around. But, you know, this year I'm going to try to stick with that one idea and try to get 50,000 from that one idea. Now, I have a few tips for you that in the past I have found helpful to surviving NaNoWriMo. You can literally write about anything your heart desires, and as long as you don't write the same word 50,000 times, it basically counts. You can insert crazy dream sequences, even ones where monkeys fall from the sky and try to take over the earth. A lot of my ideas for my last NaNoWriMo came from the dreams I had. I just wrote them down when I woke up. It was pretty fun. You can also make yourself a character of who you wish to be. You know, I found that was pretty helpful where I just took the main character or a character, any character, and made it an alter ego of myself. I also find it helpful where you imagine yourself in the character's shoes, and sometimes I would go through my everyday life and then make my character live the same things that I lived for that day. My weapon of choice is a notebook and pen. I like to pick out one notebook that I will use for the entirety of November. This is actually the notebook that I used for my first year. As you can see, I put pictures on the front and I put random things in it. And basically before NaNoWriMo started, I started by writing out names and tips and writing out ideas and different things I was going to write beforehand, and then throughout the entire course I wrote the entire book in the one notebook. I was in school my first year of NaNoWriMo, so I would write in that notebook at school and then I would come home and type what I wrote that day in the computer. That way I didn't have to count by hand the word count. This is my notebook for this year's NaNoWriMo. As you can see, I decorated it with a whole bunch of stickers and silly stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with the book. But I already wrote down a couple things for the month and started writing out my ideas and the names and the character developments and stuff, and so I'm hoping this year that will be great. A lot of my friends have told me that they don't do NaNoWriMo because they don't have time, and I know that's really code for I don't want to get off Tumblr for 10 minutes and write my 1,667 words a day. What I do, like I said, is carry a separate notebook or a scratch piece of paper that I can jot out ideas between classes or on my break, or even when I'm sitting there watching a movie, I could still be writing something. I don't have time is not a valid excuse in my book. Find a couple friends that will do NaNoWriMo with you, or find a couple friends that will be there for you and support you and encourage you to keep going with your book. Having friends to compete with is always more fun than doing it by yourself. You can add friends online at nanowrimo.org where you can track their progress and also secretly compete against some of them to help motivate you to write more. It works for me. Music also helps me with inspiration and motivation. I pick songs that create an atmosphere, the feeling of the book that I'm currently working on. My first year I had about 15 songs that were really fitting the mood for the book that I wanted to write, and the atmosphere I wanted to create. For some years it's only about 2 or 4 songs that I pick out. It all depends on how many you find. Those were just some of the few of the tips that I have for you that helped me in the past. There are a lot more you can find from other YouTube videos about this topic. I hope that these tips will help you and I wish you the best of luck. If you want to become my Nano Buddy on NaNoWriMo.org, I will link to my profile in the description below. You can track my progress and we can help each other. Thank you for watching, happy Halloween and happy writing!